You want to know the secret to lowering your score and winning more tournaments? Come here. It's putting. Stick around to figure out everything you need to know to find your perfect putting form. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Michael with Discraft. Thank you so much for stopping by. We are going to cover everything putting today. We're going to make you efficient and accurate on the putting green. But first, if you love all things disc golf entertainment, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on any of the fun that's heading your way. Let's get into the video. Putting, without question, the most important part of the disc golf game. Your driving, approach shots, everything culminates to the putt. The difference between a good player and a great player is almost always putting. A perfect drive from the tee means absolutely nothing if you can't capitalize on the opportunity and make that putt to provide separation from you and your competitors in a tournament. So let's unpack everything you need to know about putting. So digging into the types of putts, there are two basic types of putting. There's a push putt and there's a spin putt. Push putt, it's a bit old school. It requires a pretty straight arm, not a lot of bend in the elbow. The idea is like the less body mechanics that you have going on, the less margin of error. So it requires straight arm, a lot of work with your shoulder. It's straight down, straight up. You're basically drawing straight lines towards your basket, not providing a lot of wrist motion, no elbow motion. It's just a straight down, straight up putt and approach. This is really good for just inside the circle. It's not a very powerful putt, but it has the ability to, with not a lot going on in the putting stroke, it allows for less things to kind of go wrong. There are pros and cons that come with the push putt. Due to the fact that there's fewer body mechanics in just your straight arm down and up approach, there are technically kind of fewer things that could go wrong. There are less things to think about when you're actually putting. The cons to it is that it's not very powerful. You're purely relying on your shoulder and the little bit of pop that your legs give you. So it can be deadly inside the circle, but outside the circle, it's really not very effective. Plus, with not a lot of spin on the disc, it's not allowed to cut through the wind very easily. So windy conditions are a huge detractor for this putt. It gives it a lot of trouble because it doesn't have the stability to work its way through the air. So on the opposite side of that, you've got a spin putt. Spin putts are typically loaded higher in the body. Eagle McMahon is a big example of a spin putt. He brings that putter real close to his body. The elbow's bent, the wrist is bent, and then everything is coiled, and then it fires out. He produces a lot of spin on that disc. It can cut through the air with absolute ease. The cons that come with that is that your load point, it has the potential to be disrupted a little bit more due to your wrist curling, your elbow curling, whereas a push putt, you know where you're going to be touching every time, and a spin putt, you could be landing at your belly button, above it, below it, something like that can throw off your accuracy a little bit. But the pros for the spin putt are numerous. The increased spin stabilizes the putter, provides more power, and allows it to travel further. And the wind does not affect the disc nearly as much as the push putt. Due to that stabilized spinning from the disc, it's able to cut through the air if it's on a level plane and have minimal disruption by the elements of the wind. So those are the two types of putting. However, putting is probably the most subjective aspect of form in the game. Everybody's biomechanics are different. So what might work for me might not work for you. So you can blend those two putting styles in any way that you see. You've got people like Ricky Wysocki that have got kind of this It's somewhat of a push putt, but it's loaded so low that he provides a lot of snap and spin on the disc. You've got the Paul Macbeth staggered stance where he one arm down and he's loading it around his belt buckle or just below and firing out from there. You've got Eagle McMahon that loads it higher and fires it forward. So many different types of putting styles because everybody's biomechanics are different. So with that, be creative a little bit. The biggest tip that I can give you for putting, I found this out while I was putting one day. I was trying to force myself to try to putt like some of the pros that I had been seeing, and I wasn't getting the accuracy that I was wanting. And now, so I was picking my discs out of the basket and throwing them back to where I was going to be putting. I noticed that I was getting a lot more pop and a lot more disc stability by just haphazardly grabbing it and throwing it to another area of my yard. I encourage you, just pick up a putter and just toss it around your yard a little bit and find what your body does naturally to get the disc from point A to point B, because people try to overcomplicate putting so much. They try to fit their biomechanics into someone else's, and it just doesn't work. So find a baseline for yourself. Just take a disc and pop it over into different areas of the yard. Make sure that you're capable of putting anhyzer, hyzer, and a flat release on the putt, and find your baseline that you can build off of going forward for your putt. Once you've got your baseline, you can go into different stances to see what stance can work for you that builds off of that foundation that you found for yourself. So there's a couple different types of stances. You've got a staggered stance where your feet are in line, provides a lot of lateral motion. Some people put their feet directly in line. Some people want to have their feet a little bit out, kind of shoulder width apart, so they can move back and forth. Staggered stance allows for lateral motion. It's good to have your legs involved because your arms will get tired toward the end of the day. I personally use a stagger step putt simply because I want my legs to be able to shoulder the load of my putt more so than my arm. However, there comes an issue sometimes when you have an obstructed putt. In a staggered stance, I need that straight line to the basket, sometimes can be obstructed. So that goes into another stance of putting, which is called a straddle putt. That's when you're taking your mark on one side or the other, you step out to the side, and you're able to perform a putt from there. Some people use this so they only have to learn one style of putting. No matter what, they're always going to be able to count on that straddle putt. That is a wise effort in finding out your putt. You just have to find what works best for you and can provide the accuracy and power that you need to go the stretch at a tournament. Stay analytical about your putting. Don't try to force yourself into one style of putting. Be constantly evaluating what you can do to improve that putt of yours. Sometimes if you're doing something and you're getting some negative results, or you're just not quite as accurate as you're wanting to be, go out, putt, get an hour, 2-hour session, change the things that you think are necessary in order to ensure that you're getting the proper amount of spin to stabilize the putt and the consistency in your ranges. So something that you might do that might work from 40 feet might make you trash inside the circle, and vice versa. So get a putting form that gives you the greatest amount of accuracy and consistency at both of those ranges. Now, big important note here. You've got inside the circle putting and outside the circle putting. By what I mean by the circle is, circle one is 10 meters. You have to show balance in your putt until your putter comes to rest in the basket inside 10 meters or 33 feet. Outside of that, you're capable of falling forward or performing what's called a jump putt. Now, a jump putt is when you've got your disc on the ground, you're sizing up your putt, and you can either fall forward to provide extra strength on your putt, or you can jump forward and try to give yourself even more power. A lot of players use this to their advantage because it might be a little outside their normal range, but if they can get just that little bit of extra power, then they're going to be they're going to be more accurate and have more strength, better than trying to throw something in. So you'll see a lot of players 100 feet and in, it's nothing but putting. And they're never really going to wind up and try to throw a disc. It'll be an approach putt, and they'll try to loft it into the air and have it set down nice and close to the basket in the most consistent and accurate way. So let's go over a couple of examples of what it looks like in setting up your putt. Staggered stance putting. You're going to be nice and easy. You're going to fall back on that back leg and explode forward. Okay? Let's do it again. So staggered stance, everything's in line with the basket, my shoulder's in line. Now I'm going to come back on that back foot and explode forward. Okay? Straddle putt. We're going to get into our wide stance, get a good center of gravity. We're going to draw back, staying balanced, draw back, pull forward, staying nice and balanced, have that good center of gravity, pull back, pull forward. All right, outside the circle putting, we'll do what's called a step putt. You're just stepping forward to provide the power necessary to get the disc to the basket. Here we go. Now we'll move into what's called a jump putt. So your feet will be closer together, you'll jump toward the basket. Okay, let's go. There we go. So extra power added allows me to be a bit more accurate outside the circle. Extra information time. So let's talk about grip. Grip, you'll have people that like to have their fingers right there on the rim. Typically your fingers are going to be a little wider on the flight plate, so you're able to manipulate the disc's angle a little bit more. Some people will bunch their hands up to provide a lot more spin and put that index finger inside the rim so they can get a lot of good pop on that disc. When I'm holding the putter, I'm typically holding the putter as I would at like a baby bird or something like that. I'm not going to really grip the disc too hard. When I do that kind of thing, I'm typically pulling the disc to the right because the disc is having a harder time coming out of my hand. It's not a smooth release. So hold that disc a little lighter in your hand, allows for an easier release on the disc, providing more accuracy for your throw. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember, the biggest advice that I can give, find your foundation. Everybody's biomechanics are different. So find what works best for you. That's your foundation, and then you can build up creatively with the push putt and the spin putt and all the stances from there. After 5 years of playing, my stance, my putting style, all of it has grown, evolved, and changed over the years. So stay analytical about your putt, keep growing, keep learning more about yourself and your disc golf game. And remember, if you love all things disc golf entertainment, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell down below because you don't want to miss out on any of the fun that's heading your way soon. I'll catch you next time.